Coming to you live from Fitzwillard Hall on NC State University's Centennial Campus, it's the College of Engineering Welcome.
And it was so impactful. And this is going to be a great kickoff, not only to your freshman year of college, but to the next 4 years of your experience here at NC State.
Yeah, I know being this is my fourth year, it's exciting to look back and reflect on how far I've come and all the growth that has taken place over these past couple of years. And I know you'll all be able to say the same once you graduate in 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely, Hillary. Yeah, it's a great time. I think you're going to love it.
And just to give you guys an idea of the makeup of the incoming freshman class, here are some stats. There are 1,600 plus enrolled, 34.8% women, 9.8% underrepresented minorities, 18% out of state, 73 international students, 31 states outside of North Carolina, and 20 countries outside the United States. Thank you for choosing NC State.
That's pretty impressive, Hillary. I mean, I think this might be one of the most competitive freshman year classes we've had to date.
Yeah.
Wow. And so in a little bit, right after this actually, we're going to be joined by the Dean of Engineering, the Associate Dean of Engineering, as well as our keynote speaker today, who is a former NC State graduate named Bhavana Bartholf, who currently works at Microsoft. NC State students do great things after graduating from our great university, but they also do some really cool things while they're still enrolled here.
Definitely. Let's take a quick look at some amazing things NC State students have done while they're here. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Dr. Jerome Lavelle.
See you guys soon.
Welcome back. Right now we're joined by Dr. Jerome Lavelle, and there's some amazing things you can do here at NC State. So what are some things that students should be excited about looking forward to this semester?
Wow, thank you for that great question, Hillary and Lauren. I appreciate that. But before I answer the question, let me take the opportunity to say hello and welcome to our class of 2025. I want to welcome you to this 21st annual College of Engineering Welcome. My name is Jerome Lavelle. I'm the Associate Dean here in the College of Engineering. And as I reflect back on my 26 years here at NC State, I've never felt the kind of energy, the kind of passion that I'm feeling this year. So we want to welcome you to campus. We're delighted to have you as part of our engineering family. Now back to your question. What do you think students have to look forward to this semester? Wow, have you ever asked that question to a kid in a candy store? That's what our students are feeling, I'm sure. Probably the biggest thing I would mention might be the fact that we are all on campus. I know that our students are very, very excited about being here on campus. It allows us to do the thing that we do best here at NC State, and that is to provide a world-class environment for your personal and your professional growth. Your growth in knowledge, your growth in perspective, your growth in experience, both personally and interpersonally. And I encourage all of our new students, new first-year students, our transfer students, students that might be joining us from partner institutions, to put yourself out there, to join groups and to meet new people as you're coming back to campus. Of course, we want you to be safe, but also be positive and be optimistic about what lies ahead of you in terms of opportunity. So what do our students have to look forward to? I would say the whole world of engineering experience here at NC State. Embrace it and make it your own. Now, I'd also like to share with our students just a couple of other thoughts. The first is one of perspective. For many of you, a couple months ago, you were high school students or you're coming to us from a transfer institution. This is now an opportunity for you to have a clean slate, to start over again. Be purposeful about what it is that you are about here at NC State in terms of experiences. We have a saying in project management, plan the work, but work the plan. And so develop in an intentional way those kinds of things that you want to be involved with. And then over time, as things change, your interests and opportunities, work that plan to your benefit. So plan your work, but then work the plan. And then lastly, I suppose I'd like to mention to all of you as you begin your journey here at NC State is related to grit and resiliency. We had for our first year class 10,000 students apply, of which you heard our first class is about 1,600 students. So we've seen all of your records from high school, your transfer credits. We know that you're the type of students who can be successful here at NC State. But when you hit that inevitable kind of little rough air, that first time you might get your first A- or B or C, or you might have an F, who knows? That doesn't mean that engineering is not for you. Reach back into the process that engineers know about, which is we test limits, we design systems, and we take them to failure. We learn from failure, we redesign, and we get back in there. So grit and resiliency is part of my message for you today. Take those opportunities when you have resources that are available for you, whether they're academic resources like tutoring, supplemental instruction, study groups, and mentoring, or those sorts of personal resources that we have on campus with counseling centers, medical and emotional services, health centers, etc. Take advantage of those. Also, I'd like to mention 100%, please be aware of those who are in your networks. This is an anxious time. And our students we found during COVID times and now as we're getting back on campus are anxious and they're feeling a little bit of stress. And so in your environment, as you're seeing friends in your circle and they're showing signs of crisis, get them connected to the kinds of resources on campus. Use your RAs and your TAs in your class. Speak with your instructors or reach out to the other resources that you are engaged with on campus. So again, I want to welcome all of you. I gave you a few things to think about, and we're so delighted to have you back on campus and part of our engineering family. So now it's time for me to introduce our next guest, our fantastic Dean of the College of Engineering, Dr. Louis Martin-Vega. Dr. Martin-Vega is a nationally recognized educator. If I were to read all of his awards and citations, we'd be here for a while. And so let me just say that he is the best boss in the world, the best engineering dean in the world. And Dr. Louis Martin-Vega, we're so blessed to have you. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Martin-Vega.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jerome. I'm just going to compliment Dr. Lavelle and say he's also the best associate dean in the world, right? And I think we've got a great team here. As Jerome mentioned, my name is Louis Martin-Vega. I'm honored to be the Dean of Engineering at NC State, and I'm just delighted to have this opportunity to welcome you, the Engineering and Computer Science class of 2025, to NC State. As Dr. Lavelle mentioned, this is the 21st year in which we've gathered the first year class together. And this is to welcome you and also to have you hear from one of our alumni who came before you. Now, normally we would gather in one of the larger event spaces on campus, and the buzz and excitement of having you all together really is one of our favorite parts of starting a new academic year. Unfortunately, we're still working through this pandemic. We're doing things differently and presenting this welcome online. While we're very excited that you've all returned to campus and the semester does have feelings of a return to normalcy, it's important that we continue to prioritize your health and safety. So as we go through this year, I urge you to stay safe and not to let your guard down. Now, each and every one of you have worked very hard to get here. And I'm just going to tell you that the work that you have done, and congratulations for being here, as Dr. Jerome mentioned, it's a very selective process to be here. This work needs to continue. Earning an undergraduate degree in engineering or computer science is indeed challenging, but I'm very confident that you're up for the task, and I know that doing this will certainly be well worth it. An undergraduate degree from this college, look at it as a platform, as a springboard that's going to transform your life, and it's going to arm you for success, however you wish to define what success may mean. If you have a dream, and you're willing to go after it with everything that you have, A degree in engineering and computer science at NC State will take you there. Now, I want you to know that as you pursue your dream, we will be with you every step of the way. Our faculty, our staff, everybody in our college, the number one overarching goal for everybody who works at our College of Engineering remains the same. Your success, student success. We are here to facilitate your success. This means ensuring as much as we can that every one of you receive thorough instruction in engineering and computer science fundamentals, but that you also participate in a broad range of enriching extracurricular activities that will help you grow as a person, that you leave well prepared for whatever comes next, whether it be employment or graduate studies, and really to the extent possible, we do everything we can to help you get to your next great thing, whatever you define that to be. You're going to spend a lot of time in the classroom, a lot of time studying in libraries, dorm rooms, coffee shops, or whatever. That's a fundamental part of the education you have, but it's not the only part. I encourage you, as Dr. Lavelle has as well, to take part in all of the things that we've done to sort of enrich and broaden the engineering education experience. I'm talking about undergraduate research from day one. Just because you're a first-year student or a transfer student, don't think that this is something only for seniors in our programs. From day one, look at the opportunities to do research with our faculty, study abroad, hopefully that will be expanding more, student organizations, internships and co-ops, and a lot of activities that can promote the entrepreneurship elements of our education. We're working hard, we've continued to work hard to try to ensure that you're going to leave here a changed person, that you're going to have the confidence to pursue what you're passionate about, and that through learning the basics of engineering and everything that surrounds it, you're going to be able to tackle any problem you encounter and work toward a solution. Over the next 4 years, or 4 years and a little bit plus, as was mentioned, you have the opportunity to learn about and meet many of the graduates who come before you. They invest a lot in our college as well. They've gone on to do great things. Many of them, most of them, are very passionate about giving back to NC State through mentorship and through philanthropy. It's our hope that you're going to follow in their footsteps, and at some point you're going to be equally passionate about supporting our college and university because of what NC State has done for you. Each year we invite a guest to speak about their experiences here at NC State and to share with you what they have learned and how their time on campus helped propel them forward in life. As was mentioned previously, this year, Bhavana Bartholf, a bachelor's and master's alumni of our college, has accepted an invitation to share her thoughts with you. Bhavana majored in math, physics, and industrial engineering as an undergraduate at NC State, and then she earned a master's degree from our Integrated Manufacturing Systems Engineering Institute. She is now the Chief Digital and Transformation Officer for Microsoft Commercial Solutions and is responsible for building the company's technical sales strategy across the globe. She served in many leadership positions during her 20-year career at Microsoft. Bhavana was recognized this year by the National Diversity Council as one of the top 100 women in technology and has been named one of the 2021 Power 50 Diversity Champions. She is a transformational leader, an innovative technologist, a STEM advocate, and an ally for women and racial and ethnic minorities. Bhavana also serves as a board director for the WEX Inc. This is a payment solutions company for business, and she has served for 6 years on the board of the Gift of Adoption, a nonprofit that provides adoption assistance through grants. We're honored and delighted to have her with us today and sharing her thoughts with you. Please join me in welcoming NC State Engineering alumna, Bhavana Bartholf. Thank you very much. Take care.
I'm Bhavana Bartholf, and I'm a proud member of the Wolf Pack. It is such an honor to welcome you all to NC State. A huge thank you to Dean Louis, Martin-Vega, Associate Dean Jerome Lavelle, the Engineering Foundation, especially Griffin Lamb and Michael Walsh, and the engineering ambassadors, the students, the student leaders on the team are amazing. And so thank you all for having me here. I'm really excited about this opportunity to welcome you all here as members of NC State. I do remember my journey myself. It's been many years, let's put it that way, since I came to NC State. I remember that feeling where you feel nervous, excited, hopeful. And I remember making that trip. I left India and I came to the US for the very first time. I was in a big school where I really didn't know a lot of folks in a new country. But while being at the school, I remember just feeling everywhere I looked, it was exciting. You could see and feel the energy. And I hope you guys are feeling the same experience right now this year as well. And you could see how much potential and opportunity was there. This is that stepping stone for each of you as you take that time to kind of define who you are. It's that time for you to get to know and experience who you are as a person and as an adult. I remember this is one of those milestones in my life where I truly got to figure out who I was and, more importantly, what I wanted to be about. And I'll never forget that feeling and that experience that I had at NC State. And I'm so, so proud to be back here to be able to have this conversation with all of you. I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking through my journey. So I grew up in India. Actually, I lived with my grandparents because my parents lived in different countries as I grew up. And it was an amazing experience, being in a, country where gender-specific roles, had to play a specific function and had their own biases. But I was given the opportunity to have an amazing experience of being able to choose what was important for myself and defining what I needed and what I needed to have for myself as well. And as I reflect back at that time, I remember the decision of coming to NC State where I had done manufacturing engineering earlier in my undergrad back in India. I actually was a physics and a math major as well, a little confused, but tried to figure out where I wanted to go. And NC State was in the top 10 schools for industrial engineering and had just introduced this program for manufacturing engineering. And it was a great opportunity to be able to, one, be accepted, at the school, and then two, really thinking about how this experience would shape and continue to develop and grow me and challenge me to think differently as well. And so coming here, I'm super grateful for the friends I made along that journey, many of who I still keep in touch with. The faculty and the staff at NC State, I was super grateful to have the connection that NC State has within the university where they connect up with companies, especially at your Centennial campus, and they offer the opportunity for you to work part-time at these companies and kind of have your own internship, but at the same time, the companies actually pay for your school. And so was such a great opportunity to be able to work the whole time I was there and have my tuition covered at NC State. The big part of that learning and experience was it helped me think about the things that I didn't actually know about myself, that I have the capability, and the fact that if given, if I'm challenged at taking something on, I was completely comfortable in knowing that I didn't have to have all the answers. The biggest opportunity was for me to stay curious and to truly learn and have the ability to fail and then learn from my mistakes as well. And I think that the university and the school gives you the ability to feel safe and be able to kind of have those experiences. So I want to spend a little bit of time just talking through what I've learned over my broader journey. And from NC State, I actually had the opportunity to get recruited actually through campus recruiting. I remember my first job opportunity was with PricewaterhouseCoopers, but at the same time, I remember Microsoft reaching out, and at the whole time, being a manufacturing engineer, PwC made sense from a context of it was a job associated with logistics, which is what I specialized in. And then when Microsoft reached out, I wasn't sure exactly how. Most of my roommates were actually computer science majors or electrical engineering, and it was interesting to be contacted by Microsoft just directly through them finding me in the NC State system. And when I got that first call, it was great to go through the experience of being considered purely based on your capability and potential. And when I was offered the job at Microsoft, I couldn't be more thrilled to have a company that was looking to invest in me. And here I am, 20 years later, still at Microsoft. I don't think I ever thought that was going to be the case, but it's one of those where I love the company, obviously, for the fact that I've been there this whole time. I love what we're about, especially today. The impact that engineering and technology can do for you and do for the world is amazing. And so to be a part of something that big has been just an amazing journey. And throughout my career at Microsoft, I've had many roles where they were either brand new and no one had been in it, so it gave me the opportunity to define it and make it my own. I've had the experience to try things that I personally did not believe I was qualified for, but it was all about, trying and going through that journey along with everybody else. I think the biggest learning for us through that process is to keep, Microsoft right now, we believe a lot in a growth mindset, which really focuses on our ability to learn and continue to stay curious and learn. And I think the time of being a know-it-all culture and really being a learn-it-all culture is kind of, what this world needs today. And so I want to, as I've gone through those 20 years of my career, there's been a lot of reflection, especially over this last year with the pandemic, with everything that we have experienced, all of you as well, having had your final year in your past schools being pretty much remote, something that in our history we've never done, at least in my history has never happened. And so, kudos to all of you in, persevering and getting through, that experience and being here today. I thought, and through that reflection point, there were a couple of things that I wanted to make sure that I shared with all of you as a part of my own learning and growth that I've had some time to reflect on over the last year. As I mentioned, as a little girl growing up, in India in an environment where gender-specific roles and expectations prevailed, one of the things my grandfather always taught me was to simply imagine what's possible, if you just challenge the status quo. He taught me to be curious, to learn, to listen, which I think is super important in today's world, and most importantly was to dream big. It's interesting. So my name is Bhavana, and it actually means imagination, and it's something where he had to remind me over the years, over and over again, that I needed to really represent my name well, and kind of, never let anything kind of hold me back. And so the advice I'd like to give you guys is 5 simple lessons that I learned over time, from my grandfather that I, to this day, try to remind myself, in my career as I continue to grow. And I think it all starts with a couple of things, right? The first one, and this is super important for all of you to remember, is believe in yourself. You've made it this far, you're here, and it doesn't matter what anyone tells you you can and cannot achieve. It starts with you. If you believe in yourself, you can make it happen. And one of the biggest quotes, one of my favorite quotes that I've heard in a long time is, you can't be what you can't see, and it starts with you. And so I want you to always remember that as you think about what's next. A lot of us, as you learn, I did a manufacturing engineering, and here I am in the tech world. But engineering skills transfer, and the world needs all of you today. The second advice that I'll give you is you always have a choice. There are going to be many decisions you will make across the way. And I'm sure all of you have made many decisions to even get here and to choose NC State. I will tell you, even when you think you are stuck and, things don't feel great, or you're in a situation in your careers where you don't think that things can be better and you feel like you're not in an environment that you enjoy, there is always a choice. And even though it doesn't seem that way, It's a decision that you've got to make for yourself. And so know that that's always there, and remember to kind of keep that in the forefront as you're thinking through some of the toughest things that will happen in your career over the years. And at the end of the day, you should always know, regardless of whatever you choose, it's all part of your experience. The thing that we've got to stop doing is wasting our time comparing it to others. It's great to understand and, you know, observe other people's experiences and their journeys, their lessons learned through that process. But whatever happens in your life and in your career, just remember that it's your experience, and it's what makes you who you are today. And you should be proud of it. And the most important part of that is your experience is a story you should be proud to talk about. It's taken me many years to kind of reflect on just how I grew up, the experiences that I had. I always thought that was irrelevant to the person I am today. And as I've, you know, spent 20 years in my career, one of my biggest learnings was that where it all started, you know, my journey along the way from when I was young through, you know, my experience in college and in the early parts of my career, and then where I'm at today, every single part of that journey makes me who I am today and helps make decisions on what I represent, who I'm about, and I'm really proud of that journey. And so I've learned now, you know, the best thing I can do is to share that experience, to tell my story, and hopefully help some others along the way as well. The next thing, and this one is one of my favorite lessons that my grandfather, he always said this. He said, live every day like it's your last. And what he really meant was that the possibilities will seem endless if you knew this was the last decision you got to make, or the last time you did something for somebody. And I used to be really good at this earlier on. And somewhere along the line, life happens, you get practical, and you know, and obviously life happens. And so you start forgetting the importance of this. And I think over this last year, it's been one of those reminders when I've taken the time to pause, you know, not traveling for work, being home with my family, and really taking the time to appreciate all the little things that we have in our life around us, to give myself credit for things that I assume I should be able to do. And even just taking the time to stop putting things off and, you know, making those big and bold decisions or experiences that I've wanted to have, and not waiting for another day to do it. And so I would say enjoy this experience at the university, you know, challenge yourself, do things that you are not so sure of. This is such a safe environment to be able to do it. And so I would say enjoy that experience and really, you know, dream big and take on the risks that you're not so sure you want to take on. The last one for me, I mean, this is an important reminder, which is, you know, be kind. And he always said, smile more. You never know who needs that smile, even if it isn't you. And it takes, you know, the funniest thing he said most of my life was, it takes less muscles to smile than it does to frown. So he was like, so why you focus so much on frowning when you can smile and change the world? And so I love that reminder. It kind of keeps me who I am today and really enjoying life as you can. The being kind to yourself, it's always easy to be kind to somebody else, but I've learned sometimes the toughest critique is myself. Giving myself the grace to be able to make mistakes, you know, giving myself that pat on the back when I've done something little that doesn't seem like a lot, but just celebrating every milestone, even if it's for myself. You know, I grew up where, and maybe some of it is as a mother, as a woman, you know, growing up in India, I think we're so used to taking care of other people that one of the toughest things to do is to take care of yourself. As a mom, it's, you know, anytime I have to make time for myself, you know, you have the most commonly known mom guilt, right? Which is, I should be doing this for somebody else. And I think in life, what I've learned now over time is if you aren't kind to yourself, it becomes really difficult for you to do what you really want to do for others as well. And so remember to do that stuff. Just make time for yourself. You know, it doesn't matter if you've made a mistake. we all learn and grow from it. And so just be proud of the fact that you tried and that you took that step forward and that you did dream and that there's endless possibilities as you continue to learn and grow from it. And these are like the 5 lessons that I've just had to revisit for my own self over this last year that I've really had to remind myself on. And it's a huge part of advice that I give to folks about advocating for yourself and being there and representing yourselves and taking that career to that next level. So now let's shifting gears a little bit. Like, you're all here in in one of the best engineering schools in the country. You have amazing staff and faculty. And I wanted to set a little bit of context in the world today. Engineering skills are more important than ever. By 2022, there'll be 6.2 million job openings in cloud-based technology. All of you in some capacity, regardless of what engineering degree you're doing, will have a huge technical edge to the work that's out there. Employers are struggling to find the right talent to meet their organizational objectives. And I will say, you can read through the rest obviously, but I will say that students with your background and expertise are going to be super critical for the world of tomorrow. 77% of all jobs are going to require your core skill set in the market in the future. A significant amount of the jobs haven't even been created today. And so I ask for all of you to take that on and to know that you've made an amazing decision to be here. You've picked a field from an education standpoint that is going to be very critical, not only in the world of today, but in the world of tomorrow. And as you go through this and as you take on these responsibilities go through your journey and experience, I want you to think about not only what you're learning today, but also continue to be curious. Look at things that haven't been defined. A lot of you are going to be in jobs that haven't been created today, don't even exist today in any capacity. And so just know that as long as you try and you stay curious, that it's going to be really important in your career to be able to make those choices and decisions. I want to also just spend a little bit of time talking about what should matter. Diversity and inclusion matters not only in regards to having representation across the board in every company, but also in how you actually do your work, the voice that you all have in being able to make a difference in the world today, and how all of you, and this is something that I'm super proud of NC State on, and the work and the effort that they do in this space, but it's something that experience for me early on in my education experience being a part of NC State has really carried on into what I represent and what matters to me at the workplace as well. And today more than ever, DE&I matters for every company, but it starts with every single one of you being that voice, being that representation, being the ones that help us make a difference if we want to drive systemic change. And so what I would like to kind of close out with is that when you think about your future and you look at what's in front of you, you have endless possibilities. You will all be inspiring people, just younger generations of tomorrow, as well as people that exist in the workforce today. And I ask all of you to know that you will play a huge, huge role in changing the world and creating the world of tomorrow. And all I ask you as you go through that journey is to simply imagine what's possible. With that, thank you all again for having me, and I wish you all the very, very best.
What my college experience might hold, and what are my career options after I graduate?
Yeah, and you guys are just getting started. So to answer some of your questions you might have about engineering or what type of experience you can have at NC State, we have two of our most experienced engineering ambassadors, Sadie and Ryan, to answer some of your questions.
And we'll be back with them in just a minute. But for now, feel free to drop your questions in the chat about all the cool and exciting things you want to know about at NC State, and they will get those answered for you.
Yeah, definitely. And when we come back, the first question they will answer is, what is the best international experience you've had at NC State? See you in a minute.
Bye.
This university is on a march to achieve our full potential.
We have extraordinary skills. We have great thinkers.
From the hands-on introductory level all the way through the PhD.
We're not just scientists that sit in a lab fiddling around with test tubes.
We're problem solvers.
There's never been a time when the think and do attitude that we have was more critical to our university.
We are doing things that nobody else is doing.
We make something impossible possible.
To solve real problems in the world that actually save lives.
Immediate impact.
It's in the DNA of the place. We're here to think and do the extraordinary.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Pico, a fifth year studying industrial and systems engineering.
And I'm Sadie McCarthy, a senior studying mechanical engineering.
And we are so happy to answer some of these questions for you all. So for our first question,
about our abroad experiences, Ryan and I have had some great opportunities to go abroad while at NC State. For me, my coolest abroad experiences, and I've even had the chance to do more than one, but I got to go to Peru a couple summers ago. I spent 6 weeks there volunteering with an NGO to build wind turbines and donate them to communities there without electricity. So that was a really cool way for me to get engineering experience abroad, directly building something. And I only found out about that because of email chains I'm on in the MAE department here at State.
Yeah, absolutely. I also got to take part in a few experiences abroad. One of my favorites was actually heading to Germany. So working together with NC State's Engineer Your Experience program, I was able to go on a trip to Germany for one of the largest manufacturing engineering conferences in the world. That was one of the coolest experiences. Not many students get to experience that kind of thing in other schools, but by reaching out, and literally I was able to do it because I asked the right questions. I saw it online, one of my professors had gone to it, and I was interested, and I started asking, how can I go to something like this? And NC State made it happen. I got to fly to Germany, eat some really good food, and see this massive, massive trade show and conference, literally the largest in the world. An amazing opportunity. Now to go to a couple of the questions that we've had filtering in throughout our live stream today. So the first question I see here is, what would you say your favorite experience in the NC State engineering program is? And Sadie, do you want to take that first?
Sure. It's really hard for me to pick favorites, but I think in engineering in general, it's all the opportunities that are constantly thrown at you. Like, don't be afraid to read through the emails that I know you're getting. I know you're probably getting a lot even, but there are so many opportunities there for you to take advantage of. NC State just constantly throws them at you, and it's a really special part of being in engineering here.
And another experience, at least for me, that was really special, that, I mean, I think it's coming up tomorrow, College Connections. Yeah, I think it's tomorrow, is a super cool experience because I remember as a freshman coming and just seeing all the clubs and like all the things you could do. And that was a whoa moment for me to understand how many opportunities were available to us at NC State. So definitely check it out tomorrow. Is that engineering building too? That was a really fun event. I remember attending, and I love working it as an engineering ambassador too. It's a great way to meet people and get involved in some clubs. So the next question I see here is, how do you tailor or discover your path in the engineering field? Ryan? Oh, yeah, that is an excellent one because really there's so many things you can do with engineering. My major, in fact, industrial engineering, has in itself a bunch of different options of what you can do. And so figuring out where to go with that is kind of challenging. But a couple of the ways I've really figured it out is, number one, internships. I figured out what I love to do, and I figured out what I really don't like doing. Just by going into the industry, getting an internship, and talking with people in the companies. Also, your professors have awesome experiences. They're doing research. They've probably worked with companies. They are doing some of that stuff that's going to, those experiences are going to be able to give you a leg up when you hear about them and understand a little bit more. Because what you're doing in calculus right now, that's, the start of what you'll do in professional engineering, but there's a whole lot more to it. So definitely check that out.
I'm going to second something Ryan said. Internships and co-ops really help you do this. Like he said, you learn what you do and what you don't like, and both of those are so important. Co-oping really changed my life. Taking a semester off of school and coming back, learning how to apply those things in real life can be really impactful. But I would say another way you can tailor your path in engineering is to join clubs. And even if you don't have an internship experience, getting involved in clubs that are either hands-on or professional can also be a really good way to do all the things that Ryan just said.
Absolutely. So kind of going off of that, we are talking about clubs. We're talking about all the things that we can do here at NC State. And so what about research? And this question came in, if any, what kind of research opportunities were you a part of? And I can start that one off because I actually got to make my own research, which is such a cool thing you can do at NC State through our Office of Undergraduate Research, or in my case, I did that through our Engineer Your Experience program. I came to them with a fully laid out research project and trip that I wanted to go on, where I went across Western North Carolina collecting social media data at 8 state and national parks on our visitation, in order to help our state parks and our national parks be able to better predict and understand how crowds and people are using their parks. And so that is something, if you want to do research, you absolutely can. In fact, I've never met somebody that has tried to do research and has not been able to. And so that kind of segues into our next question, because we're wondering about all these things that we can do at our university, and once you've joined your major and have an idea of where you want to go. But this question is asking, is it normal to stay in your intended major in engineering, or is it likely that you'll switch? And Sadie, do you want to start?
Sure. So this is something that I almost had experience with. Like many others, I'm sure, I ran into, oh my gosh, should I change my major? I think during my sophomore or even junior year. So my major is mechanical engineering, but I'm really interested in aerospace subjects. And that's almost what I switched to. In the end, I'm really glad I didn't. Mechanical engineering is the one for me, but it's completely normal to make that switch. People do it all the time, especially if it's something between like mechanical or aerospace, because they're so similar. But really, engineering is so broad, and you guys are starting off in your first couple of years taking the same gen eds or the intro classes before CODA. So you still have plenty of time to figure that out and switch later if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I also switched my major. I started mechanical. I went to electrical. I ended up in industrial engineering. If you want to switch it up a little bit, this first year is the time to do it. Go out there, experience some stuff.
And on that note, the Career Development Center has a really good career identity program you can get involved in. I did that my freshman year, and that really helped me hone down what program I wanted to go into for engineering. And you learn a lot about yourself and what your interests are in engineering. So 10 out of 10 would recommend.
And so we actually just had a question come in asking, what is something at State that you don't think enough students take advantage of? Which is a really good question. There are so many resources at this university. In fact, one thing I like to say is that this is a big university, and that means it has the resources of a big university. If you need funding to do almost anything, you really can. And earlier, I was talking about our Engineer Your Experience program, and I think that's going to be my answer, because that is a resource where there is money set aside to make your travel and your inspirations come true. So some of the things that they help fund include study abroad, alternative service breaks, research, and student competitions. So if you want to do one of those things, you can reach out to our Engineer Your Experience team at go.ncsu.edu/EYE just pulled that one out of my brain. But you can go to that link and you can apply to get funding for whatever it is that you want to do. Or if you're doing study abroad or alternative service break, you'll actually automatically get funding to help support that. So yeah, that's mine.
That was also mine. That program has helped me immensely. It's helped me go abroad and go to conferences. That's definitely something you should all be looking into. Conferences and professional development is something that program loves to help you with. In fact, they're paying for me to go attend a conference tomorrow even in Colorado. Wow. So it's awesome. It's a really amazing program. Go look it up. There's another question here I really wanted to address because NC State can seem so big. Yeah. So how do you go about finding your community at NC State?
Oh, that's a big one. And, this is a big school. And so you want to get those smaller communities out of it. The way that I did that is I joined clubs and then I also got involved with our engineering village. We're both in the engineering village. But I'll talk about engineering village. You can talk about clubs. So when it comes to the engineering village, you are in a suite with people or with any dorm. You're around a whole bunch of people that are going through similar things in that first year. And that's something that you should absolutely and can absolutely bond over. So reach out to your neighbors, go see somebody in the hallway and introduce yourself. And then ask them if they want to go get food at maybe Fountain Dining Hall. Make those connections and then continue to build on it. Because whether or not we like to say it, it's networking to some extent.
It is. These people are going to be doing amazing things one day. Because we, again, had the same answer, to touch on the clubs a little bit, there are so many clubs and organizations here at NC State, and you can go find out what a lot of those are at the Campus Connections tomorrow or the fair happening in Tally on Saturday. I really encourage you to go join some email lists, maybe attend a few information sessions, because I have made my best friends sanding rockets at 12 in the morning in our rocketry lab with High Powered Rocketry Club. So there is a great way to lessen the size of NC State so that you can still walk around campus and see a billion people just walking to class. And that we do that by getting involved in smaller communities through things like clubs, organizations, the living and learning villages, and so much more.
And we have 2 more questions that we have time to answer. And so our first one here is going to be, what are the opportunities that first years specifically miss out on? Which is a really good one. You're here in person on campus. We want to make the most of this, right? And so my first thing that I'm going to encourage you to is school, at least at university, it's not all academic. There are all these fun things to absolutely do. So go check out one of the movies on the lawn out by Tally, or go to our club fairs. Go check out all the fun things that are happening on campus, because while you are working and doing homework, you want to have some fun too.
But on an academic note, I think since this question is for first year specifically, I really wish I had come to Centennial Campus more my first year. Hunt Library is like one of my favorite places to be. I could live there. So come check out our other campuses. It's your first year. You have an excuse to ask questions and be like, I don't know anything, please tell me. So ask for tours, ask to see things, go talk to anyone and everyone, especially on our Centennial Campus.
I've literally looked into a window of a lab and thought it looked cool and just asked, and they were like, yes, we'll show you around.
People love to talk about what they do.
Absolutely. Okay, our final question here today is, how has taking engineering courses changed your view on life? Are you more curious about your field? And that is a really good question. I love that one. And Sadie, do you want to go first?
Oh, wow. Taking engineering courses has changed my life so much for the better. I actually took a special topics course. As you get further on in your engineering courses, you get to take some more specialized ones. And I took one that actually was with engineers and geologists. And I learned that, wow, I have this huge love of geology and planetary geology in particular. So I've been able to find new loves that I can combine engineering with, and it's made me see the world in a whole different way. Now I look at rocks and I'm like, wow, I love that. And I know the structural stuff about it because I'm a mechanical engineer. So much has changed.
Absolutely. For me, that, expanding your view, I mean, there's stuff I didn't know when I started here, and there's so much that I've learned. My career path has adjusted and shifted. I've learned about machine learning actually just in the last year and have been able to apply that kind of stuff to my work and actually a little bit of like everyday life. So there are some amazing skills that you'll pick up and you'll realize they're not just engineering. There are ways that you can make an impact on your life and the life of those around you with what you've learned. And, I think that's totally true. An excellent question for sure to end on. So with that, from Sadie and I, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we're going to head back on over to our hosts.
Thanks.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sadie and Ryan. Now, we are almost done for the day, but don't worry, we have more engineering events coming your way tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow on Centennial Campus in the engineering building to Breezeway, there's going to be an event to talk about some of the clubs in the engineering program. And some of those clubs include National Society of Black Engineers, Society of Women Engineers, Wolfpack Motorsports, Underwater Robotics, and so many more.
Plus, there's going to be free ice cream and games. So that's a real winner of an event right there. We cannot wait to see you guys, and we just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. We are so happy to have had you.
Yes, and before we let you go, we're gonna ask you follow us on our Instagram page at NC State ENGR _academic affairs and also at NC State _ENGR ambassadors. So, from all of us in the College of Engineering, welcome and go Pack!